So, good morning everyone. So, it's been a while po na nagkaroon po ulit tayo ng webinar. So, today po, we'll have a webinar on action research writing. So, let me just introduce our resource speaker. And also, naka-live na din po tayo sa ating Facebook page. Ito po. So, our resource speaker is Sir Ricky C. Montano. He conducted relevant seminars and training programs, including the 15-day specialized training on integrating research into online classroom assessment. Another seminar is the Flex 2 learning course, and the last one is the writing a literature review, meta-analysis, and meta-synthesis on the international training for leaders, the leadership in diversity and inclusion. He received also major achievements, citations, recognition, and awards from the Deped Berf, or the Basic Education Research Fund, which is the research completer 2019 to 2021. He also received an award from the Academic Development for Global Leadership in Education at Greece, and that is the 2022 International Most Outstanding Researcher. And he also received the same recognition by the year 2021. He earned his bachelor's degree in elementary education at Eastern Samar State University. He earned also his master's in educational management at Polytechnic University of the Philippines, located at Santa Mesa, Manila, on the year 2022. And currently, he is taking doctor in education management at the same university. And at present, he is working as Master Teacher 1 at Deped Mandaluyong. So without further ado, I will now give the virtual floor to Sir Ricky C. Montano. Sir Ricky, the floor is yours.
Hello, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much, sir, for that very detailed introduction. Before I start my presentation, well, as you can see, for today's session, we will be engaging more on action research. So, all right. So before I start my presentation, I'd like to especially mention my colleagues from the Department of Education. Good morning. Especially to my fellow teachers in Additional Integrated School. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. And of course, many to mention, my different friends from different division. Um, Good morning. So I hope that from this session we will be learning and we will be engaging more on research. Let me just share my slides, sir. Okay, so while waiting for the permission to share my slide, okay, so okay, thank you, sir. I hope it is visible now on your end because
Yes,
most.
sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, so before I start or before I go directly with the presentation today, let me know first by sending emoji who among you here, like who among you here who is a teacher from the Department of Education. Let me see. Can you please send a thumbs up? Okay. We have Ma'am Emily, Vic, alright, Sir Dennis, Mark, Sir Mark, then Ma'am Denilyn, Louis, Sherry Lynn, and oh, so almost all of our participants are working in the Department of Education. So I could see that. Okay, thank you. I could see that this engagement will be uh, Ma'am Neslak. Oh, Ma'am Neslak, by the way, is my schoolmate in way back in college. Morning, ma'am. So okay, so I could see that this engagement will be purposeful to you, purposeful to us, because in the Department of Education, it is a must for us as a teacher. It is a must for us to conduct a research, especially nowadays that the Department of Education is on our way, or on their way to recovery. So a evidence-based instruction is important for them to to formulate a solution to a different problem that concerning the teaching and learning process, different problem concerning um, the welfare of the students and also the teachers, also the governance. Okay, so let me start. Of course. So we will be starting about the definition of action research. So when we say action research, it is simply a form of self-reflective inquiry undertaken by the participants in social situation in order to improve the rationality and justice of their own practices and the situation in which the practices are carried out. So this is based on the study of Carr and Chemis of 2014. So um, in this definition, I'd like you to reflect on this highlighted keywords. Say, for example, reflective inquiry. So, an action research is a reflective inquiry. What is a reflective inquiry, by the way? When we say reflective inquiry, it is you as a teacher or as a researcher. The product of the research is based on your reflection. So, how do we reflect? Nagre-reflect po tayo kapag meron tayong problema. Meron tayong napapansing kakaiba sa teaching and learning process. So in that way, diyan po nagsisimula ang action research sa reflection natin. Meron tayong mga katanungan. Say for example, bakit yung particular na estudyante ay ganitong ugali niya sa pag-aaral, ganito siya magbasa, ganito siya magsulat, and everything else na nagko-concern sa ating reflection sa pagtuturo, we can do some action research about it. Nagsisimula siya sa katanungan, nagsisimula siya sa problema. That's action research based on Carr and Kim's. Now, action research is a research that any of us can do on his or her own practice to improve it. It can be conducted with the assistance of the guidance of professional researchers in order to improve strategies, practices, and knowledge. So, of course, hindi natin, we cannot say that action research is for those only that, yung magagaling, yung, yung what do you call this? Yung mga advanced na ng mga teachers, yung may mga knowledge about research. Of course, when we say action research, it means like, every one of us can do it. We can break the stigma na porket we are new in the field, we are new in the system, hindi natin pwedeng gawin yun. So everyone can do action research. So provided that ang ano niyan ang situation nga din is if you are into research, if you want to do research pero you have a little bit background of research, try to find someone na very ano na siya, yung parang knowledgeable na siya for you to seek guidance para makapag-research ka. So I remember like I started doing research when I mean when it was my first time in Deped, So during that years I never knew that I like research. Kumbaga may nag-offer lang sa akin na if I can do this, then sabi ko sige, I will. So ginawa ko 'yun. So without thinking of something na mabe-benefit ko, ginawa ko lang siya out of sige gusto ko parang ganun. Pero wala pa akong masyadong background sa research sa DepEd. So ginawa ko 'yon. So at the end of the, say for example, in the span of 5 months or 6 months I think. So na-reach niya yung division namin na may pasa siya sa division. And then after that, nabigyan ako ng certificate ng division. And then doon na nag-start parang magagamit mo yan for promotion and anything, parang ganun. So doon nag-start yung enthusiasm ko into research. So nagsunod-sunod na yon. So nagkaroon ako ng sarili ko na classroom base, ganun. So hindi natin hindi yung action research is not intended for ano lang for higher position lang ng mga teachers. It is intended for all, for as long as may nakikita kang problem sa classroom mo and and you think that you can solve it through action research, you can provide intervention through action research, then that will be okay. So for you to start is that if you are a kind of hesitant in starting action research, you find someone na pwede mong pagtanungan on how to start your action research and to tell you the solutions that are based on action research are life ano siya life parang life what do you call this is a lifetime solution siya. So I encourage you to do action research. And next is it is useful in solving immediate and specific problems. It is useful in solving classroom problems. So ang ano no ang 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 merong akong study share ang basically kasi pag sinabing action research, some of the teachers like they are very hesitant to do action research kasi iniisip nila na it is thesis like yung mga ganun yung undergrad natin na nag-thesis tayo na napakahaba, na napaka what do you call this, napakahaba at napaka mabusisi. Yun ang iniisip nila. Not knowing that action research is a very simple. You have the problem and you need to offer a solution. Of course, you go through with the different format mamaya, may di-discuss natin. But then it's very simple lang po. Hindi siya yung iniisip natin. Ganun kahirap. Okay? I remember madami tayong pinagdaanan ng mga experiences during our undergrad, yung mga nagde-defend tayo ng thesis. Pero hindi. So meron pa nga na nagtapon ng aklat ng manuscript because of the result after the defend, yung after the defense. So hindi ganun kahirap yung action research. Madali lang po yung action research na nagagawin natin. Alright. So here on this next slide, I'd like to discuss about advantages of doing action research. What are the advantages? Hindi naman pwedeng negative sides lang ang ating titignan dahil gagawin action research. It is more of, advantages so that madami tayong may kahit na mga teachers to venture into action research. Number one is action research powers professional growth. So yes, this is true, because when you are into action research, hindi lang ikaw ang natututo. Hindi lang ikaw. Action research should be shared among your peers. So kapag nasi-share mo yung different strategies na na-come up mo out of action research, kapag nasi-share mo yung result ng study mo of your action research, that would somewhat in a form of empowering everyone through professionally. You offer opportunity for them to grow para makapag come up sila also para ma-adapt nila yung result ng action research. Action research makes changes manageable. That's very true because when you come up with when you arrive with a specific intervention in your classroom, say for example about reading intervention, so you come up with a very good and effective reading intervention. The situation is ganito every year you are somewhat like you tend um to be somewhat like stressed because the same problem paulit-ulit sa classroom mo. Every year nagpapalit ng school year pero paulit-ulit sa classroom mo merong mga struggling readers. By the way, um, in the Department of Education, yung mga hindi marunong magbasa, when you're into action research, diba sabi natin mga non-reader sila, mga non-coder. So in the Department of Education, they don't allow you to make a title of non-reader. Kasi napaka-negative, dapat positive pa rin yung atake natin sa title, sa research. So they classify them as struggling readers. So paulit-ulit, nagpapalit ng school year, mayroon ka pa rin struggling readers. No. So sinimulan mo yung action research, simula ka, and then you were able to come up with a very good intervention about them. So the next year na magkaroon ka ulit ng ganyang scenario na mga struggling readers, now the situation is different. Hindi ka na problema. The thing is, the situation become manageable. So mamamanage mo na. So sections entering, meron ka ng baseline. So hindi ka na mangangarag as a teacher. So in that way, the scenario, the problem now becomes manageable now for you in your part. That's because through action research. Number three, action research promotes collaboration. Of course, as I have said a while ago, collaboration because action research meant to be shared. Yung mga practices, yung mga good practices, yung mga good intervention, hindi mo pwedeng suluhin yun. You need to share. So when you share, you are employing among your peers the collaborative approach. So hindi pwedeng ikaw lang, dapat tayong lahat. So you do this, you get the feedback from them, and that's you collaborate kung ano pa ang areas for improvement, and that is action research also. Action research loves being shared, and that's why I told you a while ago that it is meant to be shared. Hindi mo pwedeng solohin lang yan because good things, even though bad, good things are meant to be shared. Kailangan sinishare natin siya. So ang mga researcher ay hindi selfish, so sinishare mo siya. This is good, itong gawin natin for them. Say for example for absentee students. So ito ang dapat natin gawin because of the result of my action research, ito ay effective. What do you think? Ano pa ang mga idea mo? It's a form of sharing. Okay. Action research can power system change. Of course, syempre, action research is an evidence-based platform, or evidence-based output. So, which is, um, dito nag dito nagbe-base yung mga curriculum implementer natin on the result of action research. And that's why it can change the system. Of course, different advantages also. Um, Next is the merits for promotions. This is very common, ano. So malaki ang points ng action. If you have action research, malaki ang points ng niyan for promotion for us teachers. So pero ang sabi ko nga, pag ako ay nagto-talk, siguro ang merits and promotions, let's consider it like parang bonus na lang, ano. Kasi some of the teachers, they do action research for the purpose of their promotion. So parang ang nangyayari na nade-defeat yung purpose of doing action research, because your purpose is for your promotion. Gagawin mo lang yung action research because you are aiming for higher position, which is parang hindi naman siya mali. Parang siguro nagkamali lang when it comes to setting your priorities, ano. Instead of focusing on the problem and the intervention, you focus yourself on your promotion without knowing that you are doing the wrong way. Say for example, minadali mo yung data, minadali mo yung proseso ng action research, which is not. So, nadidefeat mo ang purpose. And that's not a very good attitude of a researcher. So, sa akin, to tell you, siguro nakailang research ako. I think nakailang research ako before my promotion, because I am not thinking of promotion when I do action research. I think of the different problems, the different possible intervention to solve the problems. So siguro I encourage you, when you do action research, you focus first on the problem and then the solution or intervention, para mas smooth ang flow ng research, tapos we will be able to come up with a very detailed and comprehensive study. Okay? So, of course, when you have an action research, you can also publish. So, pwede mong i-publish yun. So, heads up lang po, yung Department of Education po kasi, itong tatalakay natin later, is a format based on the Deped Berf. When you say Berf, it is Basic Education Research Fund. Sa Deped po kasi, merong um, merong institution doon sa kanila na they will fund you, okay, whatever or how much you declare about your research. Fund nila yun once you are accepted, once you qualified for their standards. Fund nila yung research mo. Pero if you are under birth, kung na-fund ka ng birth, hindi ka pwedeng mag-publish sa iba. So, naka-birth ka lang talaga. Pero if you solely authored the research, kung sa'yo talaga yon at hindi na-fund, so pwede kang mag-publish online. So, publication also is another point for promotion. So, nasa promotion din siya. Next is the authorship. Of course, kapag may research ka, author ka na din. So, it's another point for ranking or promotion. Next is, of course, when you have action research, you can also venture for innovation and project. Pwede mo siyang ituloy-tuloy for innovation and project. And see, if you can see, you have the merits, you have the publication, you have the authorship, you have the research, you have the innovation. Kung gagawin natin yung action research, madami tayong may hit for promotion. It's like hitting birds in one stone na tayo doon. So, that's advantages of doing action research. Next is, in this next slides, what are the things to consider in doing action research? Of course, we need to consider first our interest. So, interest also. Number one talaga, ang top priority is your interest. Bakit? Because when you do action research, it's not gonna happen in just one click. Hindi mangyayari yun. So, of course, darating ka sa you will undergo process. So, along the way, sa process mo, it might be natatamarin ka. Alright? You get lazy, you get bored, you get demotivated. Kasi, one reason is that Hindi ka interesado sa ginagawa mo, right? So it is important for us to consider what is our interest in doing research. Para along the way, if you consider your interest, you will not be feel like, working at all. Hindi yung mararamdaman mo na nagtatrabaho ka. Okay? Because you're interested, you're into it. So, hindi mo mararamdaman na naboboard ka, hindi mo mararamdaman na tinatamad ka, hindi mo mararamdaman na demotivated ka because you're interested of what you are doing. And that's the top priority kapag nag-action research ka. You need to consider. And in coming up with action research, you have to identify what really the problem. So, kapag you have that problem, you do not go directly with that problem. You find, you dissect. Sabi pa nga, parang himahimayin mo yung problema mo until such time na mahanap mo yung interest mo kung saan doon. And then you go action research na. Okay? That's the problem. Kasi meron tayong mga problems sa classroom natin as a teacher na parang we feel like it's specific but it's not. Say for example, I'll give you a particular problem. Yung reading. Of course, sino ba dito ang hindi na problema sa rampant shall I say problem among ourselves as a teacher. So we think that reading is specific na siya. Merong mga researcher na they would able to come up with a title about reading or study about reading, but they end up like walang nagawa, hindi natapos. Why? The question is why? It's because reading is a very broad topic. Ay hindi siya yung specific na hindi siya specific na problem. If we're going to dissect reading, we'll find out that there are many underlying problems when it comes to reading. So pwedeng hindi marunong magbasa because hindi talaga nakaka-recognize ng letter yung bata. Marunong magbasa because word stage pa lang yung bata. Hindi marunong magbasa because phrases reader pa lang yung bata. Hindi nakakapagbasa dahil um, may problema sa mata. So madaming problem doon sa core ng reading. So if you'd like to start doing action research, you try to identify first these different problems that that are uh, problems that are under reading. So yung mga sinabi kong problema, specific yun. So pwedeng dun ka lang manguha for your research. So for example, gusto mo lang tutukan yung mga hindi nakaka-recognize ng letter. That is better. Say for example, you'd like to focus on the ACVC reader. Gagawin mo silang sentence reader or gagawin mo silang independent reader. That would be better. So, napaka-specific na nun. Huwag tayong mag-focus dun sa reading itself kasi na problem because that's very broad. Madaming mga underlying na mga factors. Bakit hindi nakakapagbasa yung mga bata? Okay? Next is number 3, you have to consider also the program. Para saan ba yung program na gagawin mo? Para saan ba? Ano ba ang meron sa program? Who would benefit after the program? So, you have to make a program in such a way that, it would cover all your participants, especially also the teachers. Number 4, you have also to consider the respondents. So, respondents, meron lang akong i-disclaimer dito. When you are doing action research, we call them as participants. When you are doing research or basic research, we call them respondents. So here, we have to consider also your participants. In considering your participants, you don't go directly to, oh, this is my participant because he cannot identify letter, this and so and so. We do not do that. When you are considering your participant, you immerse yourself into them. And when I say you immerse, you know them holistically. Ano ba ang history, ano ba ang background ng bawat isa? Saan ba siya nakatira? May kinakain ba siya araw-araw? Anong klaseng family meron siya? Anong klaseng environment meron siya? Yung ganon, you immerse yourself because in that way you would be able to understand each one of them. You will be able to mirror the problem, and so when you mirror the problem, um, it is somewhat like you will be able to come up with a fix and appropriate intervention for them. Next is materials. So materials, of course, you need to consider when you consider materials, you have to consider the funds, available funds. Materials somewhat like what is the material appropriate for your participants. Say for example, they don't pay attention on merely on text. So what would be the appropriate materials for them? You have to consider that one. Of course, in making and planning materials that involve funds. So sa funds naman, you have to estimate. You have to make an estimation on the materials that you're going to use. So, say for example, if you want your research to be funded by birth, of course you have to undergo proposal first. So in the proposal, you have to indicate how much your research or your study will cost. Say for example, you have to declare like food for your participants. You have to declare different materials that you're going to use, of course, along with their price or prices. So that's it. So funds. All right, so here, based on the, I hope you are familiar with this one, based on the Deped Order number 39 series of 2000, which is commonly known as the Basic Education Research Agenda. So of course, because of this pandemic, this is somewhat like, hindi naman siya binago, dinagdagan lang siya. So of course, nagpo-fall pa rin sa teaching and learning. And when we say teaching and learning, these activities, should cover, the usual thing that we do as a teacher inside the classroom. Child protection policy, this refers to the level or number of students who are abused, or the scenario of being the child or our students feel safe whenever they are in school, or the different programs of our school concerning the safeness or the welfare of the students. Human development resources, of course, this is somewhat like this is something to do with the employment, and then the profile of the employees, then the governance for the division office. So um, this is under Department of Education. These are the things that we need to consider, or the themes that we need to consider whenever we make an action research. So teaching and learning, the child protection, the human resource development, the DRR or SDRR, the gender and development, and inclusive education. Now, what are the process or flow of action research? Paano ba ginagawang action research in a school level? So of course, first you have to identify problems or the programs or projects. Sabi ko kanina kasi action research is all about problems, or it's all about program or project. Now, question, sir, can we make or pwede bang gawa ng action research on existing programs namin or existing projects? And the answer to that is yes. So I'd like to emphasize also na action research is not only for problem solution, hindi lang ganun. We can make action research out of our existing programs or projects. So you have to come up with your data. So of course, sa action research kasi kailangan may data for you to push through with your action research. Ano ba yung pattern intervention and strategy? Because in action research, yung kanyang pagkakilanlan, ano sa Tagalog, yung kanyang pagkakilanlan, pag sinabi nating action research, from the title itself pa lang ng action research natin, makikita natin na yung problem at saka yung solution. So dapat nandun na yan. Clearly stated na yun sa title pa lang. And that's, we can easily say that, this one is an action research. Because in the title alone, nandun na yung problem at nandun na rin yung solution. And that's one of the characteristic of action research. Of course, after you come up, after thinking of what is the best possible intervention of your problem, now it's time for you to read related articles. Okay? So after reading related articles, yung mga studies that related to your um pinaplanong intervention, after that you have to formulate a title. Of course, the last one for you is make an action research proposal. So now, if you will observe, so number four process is a formulating of a title. Now you might be asking me, bakit huli yung title? Sir, why is it that the title, instead of, number one, you make a title, hindi yun ang unang process of doing action research. So, well, this process is based on my own experience. I have realized that it is easy for us to make a title if we have already the different studies. No, parang mali yung ginagawa ng mga, hindi naman mali, parang hindi lang siya appropriate yung ginagawa ng mga professor natin sa undergrad, di ba? Naalala nyo yung pag whenever we have a class or classes about thesis writing, so ang unang hinihingi nila sa atin is title. Give me 3 titles, which is somewhat like parang hindi appropriate. Dapat ang unang nangyayari is that you have to read articles, review of related studies on the title that you are planning, on the research that you are planning to conduct. And after that one, pag marami ka nang nababasa, marami ka nang na na na-analyze ng mga studies na gusto mong tahakin na title. And that's the perfect time for you to come up with a title. Kasi ang title mo na ngayon, naka-back up na siya, naka-angkla na siya doon sa review of related na meron ka. And that would be very easy to have or to arrive with a perfect title. So, mapa-finalize mo na yun. Now, when you have a title, that's the time also that you are now going to formulate an action research proposal. So, after that one, you have to seek an approval from your school action research committee. Ito naman ay case-to-case basis sa school kasi merong maliliit na school lang, merong big school, So, well, definitely ang big schools, sila ay meron talagang research committee. Of course, dapat meron talaga ang bawat school. Siyempre, we have to consider the population of a teacher also, ratio of a teacher. So, in some school, hindi na nila sinusunod yung approval from school action research committee. Nag-go direct na sila sa principal. Principal also, school head, act as a research, act as the approval signatory or approval person for your research. Pwede ka rin dun na sa school head mo mag-seek ng approval. So, pipirmahan lang naman yon, and then your school head will endorse your research to the division office. And then, once your research reached already the division office, you wait for the approval. Then, pag na-approve na yun, may go signal ka na, that's the time that you're going to implement immediately the study. So, how are you going to implement? Gather the data and come up with a complete action research. How you do it. Now, basic education research fund. Usually, ang division kasi yung nagbabayad. So, that's the time that, you have to draft your proposal and then submit it to the division office. And then the division office now will screen all the papers pasa, yun ang ipapasa nila sa region or sa DepEd. And you are very lucky today because I'm going to share what are the requirements of the Basic Education Research Fund. This my discussion, by the way, is based on the qualifications of Deped Berf or Basic Education Research Fund. So first, of course, when we do action research, we need to consider the model of this model. So of course, start with the planning. You have to plan, and then you have to execute your plan, such as acting. You need to develop the data. Okay, you need to gather, you need to sort data, then that process is what we call developing. And after that one, you analyze, and then you reflect based on your results and discussion. And that's the model of our cycle of action research. All right, so when we say planning stage, it means identifying and limiting the problem. Yung sinasabi ko nga kanina, no? When you have a problem, see to it that's very specific now. We cannot deal with reading alone kasi ang reading ay, say for example, madami siyang factor kung bakit hindi marunong, hindi nakakapagbasa ang bata. If you do that, if you specify your problem, then that's very easy for you to conduct research now. Kasi specific na. Isa lang yung tutuunan mo ng attention. You focus yourself into certain problem. Okay? Planning stage also is gathering information. So you have to gather the data information concerning your problem, concerning your participants, and concerning the different materials that you're going to use. That's all of them included in the planning stage. Next stage is the acting stage. Acting stage is the implementing the plan and collecting the data. So here, when you are already in the acting stage, it means to say that your proposal have been approved. So approved na siya, and that's the time for you to float, sabi pa nga, to float your study. So in that way, you are collecting now the data that you needed for your research or action research. Reflecting stage, this is the stage number 4 in the model of action research. It's more of sharing and communicating the results and reflect on the process. When you do action research, the last part of action research is uh, a statement or a part wherein you will be stating how are you going to share, how are you going to use the action research or the result of your action research. And this that all would fall under the reflecting stage. You need to also to write your reflection about your different experiences along the way while you are doing the action research. That that all fall to reflecting stage. All right, so for the developing stage, this is also for the developing of an action plan. Of course, hindi ko pala nabanggit kanina, no? Action research, after your action research, automatically, you will be generating an action plan that will base on the result of your action research. So that's stage number 4. Now here, we're going to discuss about the proposal or format of action research based on the birth. Here, this definition is based on the Deped Berf, but after the definition, I would give tips for you to follow in drafting your proposal. Of course, here we have the title. So title, make it simple. Hindi gusto ni Deped o ni Berf yung very broad na title na hindi mo maintindihan kung ano ang patutunguhan ng study mo. So it must have the maximum number of words, which is 15. 15 ang word count niyan. Then all acronyms must be spelled out. Hindi naman pinagbabawal maglagay ng acronym sa title, provided that it must be spelled out and must contain the variables of the study. All right. So variables, when we say variables, it should have the problem and it should have the intervention itself. Ano ba ang karaniwang title ng action research? So say for example, um, game-based learning, uplifting, uplifting reading interest among struggling readers through game-based learning. So in that title alone, we can see the problem such as struggling readers, and then we can see the intervention such as the game-based learning. So, dapat ganun. Nandun yung problem sa title, nandun na rin yung intervention. And that In that way, sa problem pa lang, nandun na yung variables of your study. And that's very important. Yun ang titingnan. Kasi yun ang pagkakakilanlan kung ang ginagawa mo ba ay isang action research or basic research. So, tips: read related articles first and conceptualize the project before thinking or making a title. Ganun talaga dapat ano. So, we have to read first related articles before arriving to a final title. Think of a broader topic, narrow it down by thinking subtopics. So, ganun. So, broader perspective until such time na inanarrow mo doon sa scenario na meron ka, doon sa situation na meron ka. Next part is the context and rationale part. So, context and rationale, this part, you have to state or give reliable data that will support your problem. Stated facts and data must be verified and validated. So, karaniwan, ang context and rationale part, ito kasi yung ano, ito yung, this part is your proving. When you say proving, like, you are proving that there is a problem, the existence of the problem. Meron talaga. And that way, you need to conduct a study because you have to offer a solution to this problem. For example, sabi dyan, stated facts and data must be verified and validated. Hindi ka naman, we cannot just simply say that, this is a problem and that's why I need to conduct a study. Hindi pwedeng ganun. So, dapat ang problem, may baseline ka rin, may basis ka din kung saan nanggaling ang data na sinasabi mo na may problem. Or, what will happen is that hindi siya magiging kung wala kang na concept ka lang kung ganun. So dapat meron kang concrete backup so that your context and rationale would be more comprehensive kapag nag-discuss ka. For example, you are studying about the reading. Yeah. Example, if mapapansin niyo na reading ako kasi English teacher ako, hindi ko kabisado yung ibang although kabisado ko pero hindi ko masyado ma-explain yung ibang situation sa ibang subject. For example, reading. What is the standardized result that you have to back up with your claims na may problema nga? Anong pwedeng gamitin natin? For example, yung result ng PhilErie. Pwede yun. So, gagamitin natin. When we identify like ito yung mga struggling readers natin na frustration, ano pa ba, instructional, mga non-readers natin, ito yon. So, kapag sinabi mo yun na ito ang problema natin, na merong ganito karami, kailangan back-upan mo yun ng result ng PhilErie. So, how are you going to do that? So, syempre sisimulan mo yan. Based on the result of PhilErie, 75 kung 75% of the grade or anong grade niyan is a non-reader, say for example. In that way, hindi ka na questionin kung saan galing ang data mo. Because you have a very reliable support or to your claims na eto, meron ganitong problema. And that's why, ipapay-vote mo na siya ngayon na kaya ako pag-aaralan because I have here the existing problems based on the result of the very reliable source or data, which is PhilErie na. And of course, sa ibang division, meron silang mga standardized reading tool na ginagamit. Ano? Pwede yun. For as long as it is standardized. It is, when you say standardized, ito ay nag-undergo ng validity na. Validity and, testing. Yung ginagamit ng lahat. That's standardized. So, pwede nating ilagay niyon din sa context and rationale. And then you prove your problem. Kailangan mo pag-aralan because of this existing problem. Next, tips. In writing context and rationale, you must first prove that there is a problem and a need to conduct a study. And then number 2, cite or state at least 3 validated sources. Kung wala nito, una, first, or 1 lang, pwede na yon. So, other sources of data na pwede mong i-back up is, the result of national achievement. Wala na ito ngayon. PhilErie or yung mean ng division, pwede mong i-back up yan. Say, for example, ang study mo naman ay low mastery. English subject. So anong pwede mong i-back up with? Of course, the result of periodical test. So manggagaling yun sa division. Sa amin kasi sa division namin, merong checking sa division. It's through scannable or scantron. So nag-undergo siya ng pag-scan. Then after that, siguro mga 2 days or 3 days after the exam, pino-forward dito sa per school, then nakikita namin yung mean percentage ng per subject. So doon namin nakikita na ito may low mastery sa English, low mastery sa science, yung mga ganun. So that is standardized naman. So pwede rin natin gamitin yun bilang backup doon sa ating problem na sasabihin sa context and rationality. Remember, pag context and rationality, ito yung proving point mo. Kailangan ma-identify mo dyan ng maayos bakit gusto mo mag-conduct ng study. And also, the different related, excuse me, related literature also will support your problem. Next is the proposed intervention or strategy. State your proposed intervention back up with the different related literature that you have read. So, syempre, sa action research, if you'll notice later, wala po siyang part ng review of related, unlike sa ating mga thesis, na iniisip natin na similar to sa thesis, hindi. So, wala pang review of related literature. Pero, it doesn't mean that you're not going to read. Kailangan magbasa pa rin. Bakit? Kasi dun sa proposal of intervention, dun may papasok ngayon kung bakit mo gagamitin yung intervention na to. So, of course, you have to identify yung mga effective ways na ginamit yung intervention na yon or yung mga related literature na may magsusupport doon sa intervention mo. Now, you can cite prior programs that the intervention utilize yung pag-back up natin. It doesn't need to be in a particular part of the action research na review related kasi wala nga yun. So, mangyayari lang yun dito sa pag-back natin ating sasabihin about the limitations with the different literature will make our research more comprehensive. Hindi sa atin lang ang sasabihin natin. Although hindi naman sa intindihan ko kasi way back when I was college, yung professor ko noon, ang sabi niya sa amin, I can still vividly, remember or recall. Sabi niya, bawal mag-insert ng sarili mong opinion. But when I started my masteral in PUP, so yung mga professor doon, sabi nila, bakit hindi?
Hello.
Sabi, bakit hindi pwede kang mag-insert ng sarili mong opinion? You need to insert your opinion kasi researcher ka, ikaw ang gumawa. Provided that nagiging opinion mo siya because wala kang backup. Wala kang backup na study na mag-support doon sa opinion mo. So, ang lalabas talaga doon is opinion mo. But, if you state your opinion, tapos may backup siya na study, that will be reliable na siya. Reliable statement na kasi binabackupan niya siya ng fact na study. So, ganun dapat. Hindi pwedeng maging hindi pwedeng maging afraid tayo or takot tayo mag-input ng opinion natin provided that may magaba sabihin mo para maging makatotohanan siya. Here, in the intervention, ganun din. So, you need to say anything, you need to say everything about your proposed intervention provided that it will be backed up with the review of related literature or studies about the intervention. Hindi naman pwedeng magsulat ka lang tapos wala kang ibaba ka. Okay? Yun. Here in this part also, for the proposed intervention strategies, you need to write this part logically. When you say logically, dapat nakasulat dito kung paano mo siya gagamitin, kung meron kang mga different stages, kung meron kang mga different steps, dapat nakasulat din dito sa part na to. Now, for my tips for you, in writing proposed intervention strategy, an original strategy or intervention is better. Mas maganda naman kapag original. But, in case an intervention was adopted, kapag nag-adapt ka lang from other studies, make sure to justify how you'll apply and use it to your studies. Hindi ko naman, parang I'm very sure But whenever we adopted an intervention, hindi naman natin yung i-copy pasted lang, because I believe that yung setup is nagkakaiba-iba. So hindi pwedeng in-adapt mo siya from this setup, ilalagay mo sa setup mo, parehas lang. Nang iba-iba yung problem, yung yung mga clientele na kini-cater natin, iba-iba yung setup. So, papasok pa rin doon yung localization. You're going to localize the intervention. You're going to contextualize the intervention so that it would fit your study. It would fit the problem. Ganun. So, dapat lang i-justify natin kung paano natin siya gagamitin para ma-adapt natin siya. Number four, fourth part is the action research question. So state at least 5 questions based on the birth you wanted to find out after your study.
Good
So
night.
five question like pag
Hey Kay, hello. Hello, hey.
Hello, good night.
Good night, people.
all right. So if you have five,
Boa noite, meus amores.
I wanna make a poopy. I wanna make a poopy in your mouth.
Could we actually kick them out?
Taste that pink venom, taste that pink venom, then again, get 'em. Straight to your home life. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Straight to your.
Hijo de puta.
That's so rude. Let him pay attention to the class.
Abra a boca que eu quero dar uma lição pra você.
Alright, so okay, so we are on the part number 4, which is an action research question. So as I've said, um, in the Deped Berf format, so maximum, I mean, at least, no, at least 5 questions. So pwede naman mag 6, pwede naman 8, 9, 10. Basta at least 5 questions, not below 5. So yun. Ano ba dapat ang mga question na meron tayo? Dapat. So of course, first is that you need to research questions such as descriptive questions. This can be answerable through your data. Ano, yung data na meron ka. Inferential naman questions. This is the proving questions such as na the significant of variables from these variables to other variables. So of course the effect of the intervention, the output of your study. So this basically the content of the research questions.
Gore dito, homosexual.
Next is the action research methods. So when you have action research methods, this will ilan bang participants meron ka sa research mo. And of course, you need also to identify the procedure or the the methods of getting your participants. Paano ba sila nakuha? Is it through random sampling, purposive sampling, in that way? Example. Now, next is the yes sir. Ah, yes, sorry. Hindi yata ako nakashare ako ito. Hmm.
Apo, sir. Sige po, copy po. Noted po, sir.
What about that one po? Is it visible na po? Okay.
Yes po.
Thank you. All right, so action research methods, ano, this one is include the identifying of the number of participants, gaya ng sabi ko kanina. So when we identify our participants, it's very important to indicate also the methods that we use, the sampling method. So say for example, we can use the purposive sampling, we can use random sampling, and different sampling methods. Next is the sources of data information. Yun nga yung sinasabi ko, saan ba galing ang mga participants mo? Sino-sino ba sila? Are you employing gender sensitiveness whenever you select your participants? Say, for example, lahat pwedeng sumali ba or restricted ka lang for female, for male? Now, next is the data gathering methods and data analysis. Now, this will concern your statistical method that you're going to use. Paano mo ma-analyze yung ganitong problem, yung ganitong question. What statistical tool that you're going to use? Are you going to use descriptive statistics? Gagamit ka ba ng t-test? Gagamit ka ba ng um, 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 non-probability measurement, mga ganon. So those are included in the action research method part, the last one. All right, so this is my tips because I'm not good in mathematics, pero I have a lot of researches. So ito lang ang tips doon. In selecting participants of your study, make sure to state how the participants were selected. So of course, papasok dito yung different sampling techniques. Now, when it comes to resources data or the intervention, it must be verified or quality assured by the principal or master teacher or the research committee. Kailangan kapag original ang gagamitin natin yung intervention, of course, doon sa validity, paano natin may measure, it must be verified or quality assured. So, critical issues or standards, it must be properly discussed to the participants of the study. So, dapat alam ni participants kung bakit siya nandyan, alam niya kung anong mga gagawin niya dyan, yung limitations ng study. So, in analyzing the data, state specifically the different statistical tools used, examples, correlation statistics, descriptive statistics, t-test, and others. So, doon po siya nakapaloob sa methods ng research. Next is your action research work plan and timeline. So in your action research implementation, you have to indicate what are the activities that will cover the whole research study. So in that way, you have to identify what are your pre-implementation, what are your planning. That's under pre-implementation. The implementation proper or the floating of your study, yung nasa field na nang gagawin mo, anong dapat mong gawin. And also post-implementation, this includes all the activities that you're going to do after the result of your study. So that would include the utilization, the implementation, and utilization of the result of your study. So three parts po siya. Next is the cost estimate funds and resources. Here, you'll state here all the expenses incurred in your studies. If you like to be funded by the BERF, expenses on the purchase of materials such as printer, cell phones, on sa mga equipment or mga applications or yung TF ng hinard mong statistician, hindi mo siya pwedeng i-declare as funds sa BERF kasi hindi nila i-honor yon. So what are the valid um funds? So ito ay may kinalaman lang sa food allowance, sa different materials, bond paper, colored paper, folder, communication allowance, transfer allowance, yun lang po. But the equipment, they are not included or they will not be funded. Plans for dissemination and utilization. So ito na yung pinaka yung part number 8 proposal. How and when you will disseminate the result of your study. So probably here on this part, you're going to include or you're going to state the dissemination. How are you going to share the result of your study? So it could be probably through school learning action cell, through division learning action cell. In that manner, conferences, ganun. Ang utilization naman is how are you going to utilize? So for example, by grade level lang muna ba? Or buong school mo na siya i-implement, i-utilize ang results. So ganun. Now, next is the references. So list down all your references. Of course, kailangan ang reference ay tawag dito naka-APA format sa BERF. So wala namang 'di ba sa ating mga thesis ay sinasabi ang restriction doon is 5 years backward. Sa BERF naman wala namang ganun provided that you cited them well. Proper ang citation mo and you use the APA format for your referencing. That's not a problem for them. So okay, so this end my presentation about basic format for basic research, and then later we will discuss siguro yung different parts on how to do them, how to write the different parts of action research. With that, I am open for question. Thank you.
So thank you very much po, Sir Ricky Montaño, for a very comprehensive and detailed discussion on the writing action research and about the BERF format. So we're very thankful, lalo na sa ating mga Deped teachers na nandito, including me. So this will be a big help for us to formulate action research sa ating mga classroom teachers. So any questions po para sa ating resource speaker from our participants? Any questions po? So this is the time po para entertain and makater po ang inyong mga questions. So feel free to ask our resource speaker.
Hi, sir. Good morning po.
So Ma'am Luvmika Kaparo. So what is
Yes
the
po.
question po
Yes po.
sa ating resource speaker po?
Okay. Hi, Sir Ricky. First things first, thank you for that malaman-laman na pagtuturo sa amin, although may disturbance. Anyway, my question is, I am a graduate of BS Ed Mathematics po kasi. Now, if I will, what is this? Sorry for the chicken. If I will, if I will conduct a study, will it be okay if I am also the statistician of the data of ng study ko po? Like, I will not hire anymore a statistician. Okay lang po kaya?
Okay, ma'am. So you are referring to action research, ano, ma'am? If yes, ma'am, it's okay. In action research, that would be okay. So hindi nga kailangan natin mag-hire ng statistician for that.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you po.
Okay, thank you po. So, si ma'am po kasi is major in mathematics. Pareho po kami. So, kapag action research po, siguro hindi naman po required po, no? Pero kung you are writing thesis or your master's thesis, some universities are requiring to hire statisticians. Sa aking school, kailangan po talaga yung in-house statistician po yung kukunin po namin. So, yun po. Any questions po? Meron pa po ba tayong question? Regarding po sa Certificate of Participation, after our second session with Sir Ricky, dun pa lang po natin mabibigay yung ating Certificate of Participation. So that is equivalent to 4 hours, I guess, na certificate. Good for 4 hours. So any questions? Any question po from our participants? Ma'am Cherry, do you have any question po?
Ano po, sige po. So, kailan katagal, halimbawa magsusulat ako ng research. Gaano po katagal yung may time limit po ba yun? May duration po ba?
Yes po, ma'am. Actually, sa Deped na yung action research is good for 1 school year. But, if you can do it like in span of 6 months, pwede po.
Okay po, thank you. May mga nagre-raise din po ng hands dito, Sir Ricky.
So, sa mga nag-raise po ng hand, we have si Sir Louie, may question po ba tayo? Kay Ma'am Almar, Ma'am Antoinette, kay Ma'am Ginelda po. Okay. So, sir, they can ask daw po for a copy of presentation.
Yes po, sure po.
So far po yung ating yung record po sa ating team replay, pwede naman po nasa Facebook page po natin. And yung disturbance po kanina, I hope na hindi po siya kasama dun sa live natin sa Facebook. So naalis ko naman po siya. So I just hope na naalis po talaga. So yun po.
Madami ang may questions, mga nagre-raise ng kamay.
So Ma'am Almar, Sir Louie, may question po ba tayo? So through email na daw. So through email po siguro isasend or via messenger, pwede din po siguro.
Yes, you have, okay. So para ma-make sure natin masasend ko sa inyo, siguro you have to message me through my messenger account, and please be patient kasi sometimes kasi napupunta siya sa spam, so hindi ko siya na-see agad. So better if you can add me through Facebook, pwede rin po.
So thank you po, sir. So very accommodating po ng ating speaker. So yung messenger account po siguro ni sir is yung pangalan din po niya, Ricky Montaño po. So wala na po ba tayong questions?
Hello, sir. Good morning po.
Okay. Sige po, Ma'am Annalyn.
Apo. Sir, good morning po, Sir Ricky. Question lang po. Kasi nagpasa po kami dati ng BERF na unfortunately, it was not being able to meet the deadlines kasi medyo during the time of pandemic. That is the first time that we're going to submit a BERF. And then, ang tanong ko lang po kasi, di ba, naglabas na po ng memo for sa Manila po ako ng mga guidelines or same pa rin po ba yung mga format or template na nilabas? Hindi ko po sure kung parehas po yung sa Manila sa ibang division na format or template. Kung meron po, ano po yung mga pagbabago? Kasi yun po yung reason bakit hindi kami na meet yung mga deadline kasi may mga additional attachment pa na dapat po pa siyang i-submit. Tapos may yung question ko rin sir, kung kunyari hindi po na-approve yung hindi po nasama yung aming pwede pa po ba yung isama ngayon yung aming birth? Although during that time po kasi pandemic po yung action research, yung aming action research. Yun po sir, thank you po.
So, thank you, Ma'am Annalyn. So, I am very glad that, nasa NCR din po kayo. Siguro masasagot ko ng maayos ang tanong niyo because we are in the same region. So, totoo po yun. Meron ng bagong call for proposal. So, sa amin kasi, ang deadline namin is this coming 23, yung proposal namin sa division. So, yung question mo number 1, may pagbabago ba sa format? So, parang wala naman, same last year. Ang nabago lang is yung mga priorities. Yung priorities because last year, kung mapapansin mo, ang mga current title focuses the different problems encountered in the pandemic. So this year naman, nag-set yung Department of Education ng different priorities. So kung anong mga priorities lang dapat na nakalagay doon, yun ang dapat ang i-cater na research. So meron din, say for example, more on to sum it up, more on the recovering process of the Department of Education. Yung mga meron pa ring child protection policy, siguro we 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 pattern it or we make sure na ang gagawin natin with the different priorities is more on the recovery. Yung may mga data tayo from from the last 2 years pandemic, and then yung ating research is how are we going to resolve it through recovery processes. Parang ganun. Later this afternoon, I'm going to try to discuss the new priorities for the Department of Education under the Basic Education Research Fund. Meron po yun, ma'am. The next question is, pwede pa bang gawin yung action research noong nakaraan na pandemic? So I guess yung data na meron kayo nung nakaraan yung data na kasagsagan ng pandemic, pwede pa naman po, ma'am. Pero mababago siya. Hindi na siya yung study mo nung nakaraan. Kumbaga, ang data na meron ka ngayon is magiging baseline mo na siya. Baseline mo na siya, hindi na siya yung laman ng study mo. So, ang mangyayari noon, kumbaga, ang data na meron ka ngayon, which is product siya nung previous years mo, magiging baseline mo na siya at gagawa ka ngayon ng panibagong study na kaugnay siya doon sa recovery plan ng DepEd. Hindi na siya magdi-dwell doon sa pandemic, kundi basis mo na siya, ito yung pandemic, ito nang gagawin mo to recover. Parang ganun lang.
Okay, sir. Although sir, hindi po namin siya napasa kasi 3 po kaming proponent. Pero I think napasa po namin siya sa DO Manila, yung pinaka-proposal. Nagawa naman po namin ng transmittal na i-submit po siya sa DO. Ang tanong ko lang, sir, kasi same lang din po yung papers na pinasa namin. May time frame po ba 'yon? Na hindi po ba nila ma-technical na, nasubmit nyo na to dati? Kasi unfortunately, sir, nandun na po kami sa phase kung saan ibibigay po yung mga data. Kaya lang po due to lockdown na hindi po tayo makalabas, hindi magawa yung supposed to be na pagbibigay ng questionnaire. Kaya na-stop na po kami sa phase na ganun. So wala po siyang data na nakuha kasi po yung supposed to be na questionnaire na ipamimigay namin, na-hold po siya dahil bigla po nag-lockdown most of the area na dapat namin i-pilot.
Okay. So with that, ma'am, siguro ang magiging issue natin doon yung relevance na kung ipapagpatuloy mo siya ngayon. Yung relevance na ng research. Kaya nga ang suggestion ko doon, pwede namang siyang ipasa with different approach na, with different title. Kumbaga, ang gagawin niyo ngayon, yung previous niyo na nasimulan, gawin niyo na lang siyang baseline niyo na lang siya. And then, gawa ulit kayo ng panibagong title. Ang kagandahan dun, ma'am, kasi meron na kayong baseline. So, gawa kayo ng panibagong research, pinipasa nyo sa DO. Ganun. Kasi kung if ever napasa niyo yun, for sure, na-screen na yun ng division office ninyo. So, baka sabihin, yes ma'am, yung tama nga yun, yung parang, tapos na to pinasa nyo na to, may gano'n.
Okay po, sir. Kasi hindi nakapagpalo kapag kumbaga binigay yung pinaka naging yung tawag dito, yung last part, yung chapter 4, 5. Opo, kasi yung hanggang chapter 1 to 3 lang sa methodology, yon. So yung 4 and 5 wala po yung data presentation. So bigla na po kasi nagkaroon ng lockdown nung January. So ang ano ko lang, ang ano po kasi namin during that time po kasi is about the assessment of waste materials kasi po 'di ba ang dami pong face mask, mga ganon, mga PPE. So yun yung isa sa mga alam ko lumabas din na survey na meron pong ganon na high risk yung mga products na ganon. So yun po yung focus namin. So ang tanong ko lang sir, possible po bang may ganun pa ring mga criteria or ano tawag natin doon sa area na ngayong birth, pasok pa rin yung papers namin o wala na pong ganun na area?
Ano pong particular research team ang pinag-anuhan niyo? Teaching and learning po ba? Child protection? Alin po doon? Kasi sa team naman po, okay pa po siya. Pag may pinagbasehan kayo, wala naman siyang binago doon sa team. Yung pa rin. Yung priority lang talaga, yung mga priorities.
Kasi ang title po kasi ng research namin, ang suggestion po kasi ng aming research, basic research muna. Pero although meron na kami naging action research, pero ang title po kasi ng research namin is Assessment on School Waste Management Practices, a basis for school waste management system. So during yung assessment po ng school waste, ibig sabihin sa loob po ng school yung pag ng basura, ganyan. Kaya lang po pasok.
Pasok pa rin po yun, ma'am. Apply niyo po. Pwede
Okay.
pa rin po yun.
Pwede pa rin po yun, sir. Okay po. Thank you po. Salamat.
Okay po, thank you po Ma'am Annalyn sa question. So sa ating chat box, tignan po natin. So sa ating Facebook po may nagtanong if okay lang po ba kahit hindi umabot ng 50 participants or respondents yung research po.
50 like 50 po, sir?
From Betty May de la Peña po from our Facebook. Would it be acceptable po if hindi po aabot ng 50 number of respondents sa action research?
All right. So she is talking about action research, ano? Action research walang particular po na respondents because kahit isa lang pong participant, ano, you can do action research. Case study, pwede po siyang action research.
Okay po. So for the afternoon session, so yun po yung karamihan na question po sa atin. So para po ma-secure po ninyo yung ating link, so dito ko lang, okay po.